Still time for men to get to their work. Alaric, face your opponent. Henrik, the Dane. Good men of noble lineage who never flee. You're called here today not for wine nor for women's mysteries. You're called to play the hard game of war. Vikings, what say you? Order! Lay on! Enough! Almer has been satisfied. These men were fighting a duel in the Viking Age. Duels were often fought, but seldom if ever to the death. Why? Look at these men. They're dressed in fine armor at great expense. They've spent a lifetime of training and experience. To see one of them die over a frivolous argument, simply not practical. Viking, form the shield wall!
What I'm going to tell you about, what we're going to tell you about, is the use of different weapons the Vikings had. We're going to start with a bow and arrow. This is something that every Viking would have, not only as a weapon, but as a source of meat. This is a hunting weapon. Now, I've got a problem here. I've got a number of hostile Vikings, and I've got to... The advantage of a bow and arrow is that I don't have to get close up to these people to use my arrows, because I'm going to be very vulnerable. I'm going to stand off maybe 40, 50, 60 yards, and I'm going to take my arrow, and I'm going to, it's called sky shooting. I'm going to loosen it up so the arrow flies vertically into the air, and it's going to come plunging down into this shield wall. Their defense is going to be to put their shields up. It'll stop their arrow, might catch a leg, but it also leaves them vulnerable to my partner who's out here and can straight shoot at them. A little bit about arrows. They come in different styles. This would be a hunting arrow. It's got a broad head. It's meant to cut into flesh and disable an animal quickly. But there's another thing to note. If I string this arrow onto the bow, oops, get it going here. Notice that the tip, hunting tip, is vertical. If I have an animal like a deer, its rib cage is going to be oriented vertically, so that I'm going to have a better chance of penetrating the chest and the vital area if this arrow broadhead is going vertical. If it's horizontal, it might fly between the ribs and not penetrate. However, if I've got a group of Vikings to deal with, I'm going to use an arrowhead like this. Still cutting, but if I... Hard to do without glasses, they weren't invented. When I string this, note that the arrowhead is horizontal, because in humans, the rib cage is basically horizontal. This is an anti-personnel arrow. If I were to loose this at these gentlemen, let's say they fail to get their shields up properly, this broadhead is not going to penetrate chain. It's too big, the chain will stop it. So what are we going to do about that? We have a bodkin point. It doesn't matter how this is oriented. This needle-like point has the ability to go between the rings, split them, and keep on going. And it was the invention of this arrowhead that ultimately made chainmail obsolete, and warriors had to go to plate mail. Now, I'm an archer. I'm lightly armored. I'm generally a poor man. I don't have much money. I can't afford anything more than a bow and arrow and a few metal arrowheads. But I'm wearing this chainmail. This is an expensive piece of kit. I didn't buy it. There was another Viking who ended up with a couple arrows in his back. He didn't need it anymore. Now, if I had to deal with these people, I'd rather run away. But what any good Viking warrior would have would be his fighting sacks. So if I had to engage, say, one opponent, if I could get up close to him, he's not going to be able to use his sword on me, but I could use this on him from underneath the shield. So this is a fighting sack. We have other examples on the table. Next.